What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the SATS Show. It's Friday, and you're watching the place where you come and learn about Bitcoin, a beginner-friendly guide to saving in Bitcoin. Welcome, everybody. Round of applause from the live studio audience for Leonard Proxer in the chat. What up, Proxer? Let's go. What up, Garrett? Welcome to the stream. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, it's this week has flown by, especially since I thought Wednesday was Tuesday. All of a sudden, it's Friday. Got to put the Hawaiian shirt on, chillaxing. Let's get the show started. Bitcoin is up about $2,000 since the last episode. So let's see what kind of purchases we have to make today. Today there's no big theme for the show. It's just a regular old stacking episode. It's a Friday. We like to hang out a little bit extra and field any questions that come through. Round of applause and shout out for Garrett and shout out for BTC Moon Guy. What up? Welcome back. Happy Friday, everybody. Carl in the house. What up, Carl? Let's go. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So with that said, let's get into the first segment of the show, which we like to call the SATS Strength. All right. Today, the price of Bitcoin is $42,000, and you can buy 2,380 Satoshis for $1 today at the current price. Why is that important to highlight? Because a Bitcoin is composed of 100 million Satoshis, just like $1 is composed of 100 pennies. You don't have to buy a whole dollar all at once. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin all at once. But it makes it more attainable in your mind, right? It gets rid of that. That bias, you know, where you think you can't afford it, so you just start looking at other options because you think you're already priced out. Well, if you look at it in terms of Satoshis, you're definitely not priced out. You can get 2,380 Satoshis for $1, right? You start DCAing $10 a session, $10 a DCA, you're getting 23,800 Satoshis, right? Which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And next thing you know, you get to 1 million Sats, and you'll be a Satoshi millionaire, and take it from there. Okay. All right. So that's the price of Bitcoin today. And if let's just say this weekend when you're out and about, walking down the street, minding your own business, you look down, you see a penny, you pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck and 23 Satoshis. Okay. I saw a post on X yesterday, and somebody had a photo of a penny on the sidewalk on the floor. And the question was, would you pick that penny up? Okay. Would you pick that penny up? So we're going to put a poll to get things going. See a penny, pick it up? Question mark? All right. Starting the poll. See a penny, pick it up? And all the day you'll have 23 Satoshis? Or pass. Don't pick it up. Hey, right now, the way I think about it, and this might sway your initial response, is this. In the year 2134, I think that's the last halving. And the reward for mining a block for the next 4 years after that will be 1 Satoshi. Okay, right now the reward for mining a block is 6.25 Bitcoin, right? And then it'll go down to 3.125 Bitcoin after the halving that's supposed to happen here in April, right? I mean, it will happen. It's not supposed to happen. It will happen because it's programmed into the code. Okay, so once that happens, over and over and over again, every 4 years, when we get to the year 2134, the final halving will be. The Coinbase reward will be 1 Satoshi. Okay. So when we started the show, we used to do 1,000 Sats giveaway for new subscribers, but we stopped doing that this year because how can I be saying and telling you guys that Bitcoin is the most scarce thing you can own, and here I am giving it away like it's nothing. Okay. So it just the signal doesn't match, right? It's like cognitive, what's it called? Dissonance, right? So that's why I don't give out Sats anymore on the show. So in case you guys were wondering, because it's the most scarce thing you can have, right? And again, 2134, having enough hash power to mine the next block. Who knows how much electricity you have to burn to mine the next block in the year 2134. but your reward for mining that next block is going to be 1 Satoshi plus the fees associated with that block. Okay, so imagine how much 1 Satoshi will be worth at that point, right? Who knows, right? So I might have made somebody a millionaire just by giving them 1,000 SATs in the last year, right? So hold on to those SATs. Every single SAT counts. I'm changing that up. So I'm changing that up to like every single SAT counts, guys. Okay, and let's jump into the next segment of the show, which is called Why We Stack. That's a good little intro to what we're going to talk about today and why we stack. Even though it's a Friday episode, I still like to drop a little signal, talk about the importance of saving in Satoshi, saving in Bitcoin. And we follow that little thread of what a single Satoshi will be worth once it becomes the Coinbase reward for that block, right? That means that in that year, when the reward becomes 1 Satoshi, the release rate of Bitcoin will be what? How many blocks happen in 24 hours? Let me see. 24 times 60 equals 14,040 minutes divided by 10 minutes, because each block is 10 minutes. You get all of the rewards for the whole day of mining. Oh my gosh, I really messed up. The rewards for the whole day of mining, if you happen to be the one to mine all the blocks that day. Anyway, the whole amount of Bitcoin that gets released today daily is 900 Bitcoins. Okay, as the halvings happen, that reward gets cut in half. Like after the halving this April, the reward is going to be like I said, 3.125. That means it's going to be really 450 Bitcoin a day. Okay, and then 4 years from then, it's going to get cut in half again. 4 years from then, it's going to get cut in half again. When we get to the year 2134, and the reward is going to be 1 Satoshi per mined block, the whole release of Bitcoin in that day is going to be 1,404 Satoshis. Okay, 1,404 Satoshis. And yeah, we won't be alive by then, but our descendants, the people that are going to inherit our Bitcoin, will be alive by then, right? And they're going to look back at this little slide and say, oh man, that's crazy. Look, today, for $1, for 50 cents, about 55 cents or so, or 60 cents today, would get you 1,400 Satoshis, okay? Which would be the reward for mining the whole day and capturing every single block, which would be impossible in the future, right? So SATs, even at 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, even at 70,000 when we hit all-time high, they're still cheap compared to the price it's going to be in the future, okay? So that's why we stack, because it's so difficult for us to comprehend the numbers that are possible here. That, yeah, it's just incredible, okay? Because remember, everything else you can make more of except for Bitcoin, okay? So just by that virtue, it will naturally attract the most money, right? The most wealth, because once people start to understand that if you're holding your value in an asset class that is subject to taxation, subject to rule change, subject to confiscation, right? People will understand and naturally start to transition into Bitcoin, right? Because maybe you're tired of dealing with the management of real estate, right? Maybe you're tired of paying the maintenance fees / management fees / profit share with your investing company that's managing your money for you, right? Even though they're only taking 1%, 2%, right? When you start to factor in the compound effect of not just your savings, But their fees, like we saw yesterday in yesterday's video clip, you realize that they're kind of taking about 2/3 of your potential profits just with that little 2% fee over the span of 50 years, right? So you realize that, hey, you know what? People will start to understand that more and more, and eventually they'll start selling those assets off and getting into Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't leak. Okay, once you get your savings, once you get the value in Bitcoin, and you transfer it from your exchange to your self-custody wallet, at that point you're golden. There's no leakage, right? There's no annual maintenance fees, no quarterly fees, no management costs, no taxes on it, right? Because you're not selling it, you're holding it, right? And since that asset is going to continue to appreciate over time because the money printer doesn't stop and the money continues to get debased and you need more and more weaker dollars to buy the same asset, right? Look at that, $34 trillion, okay? With a crazy high interest rate. This debt always has to be refinanced, right? And the government has put itself in a hard spot where it has to raise the interest rate in order to slow down banks from loaning money and increasing the money supply and creating more inflation. And at the same time, it has to lower the interest rate in order to refinance this debt, or else, can you imagine the interest on $34 trillion at whatever, 8%, 7%, right? So they have to lower the interest rate. And when they lower the interest rate, it's like giving the economy a sugar rush. And it's, again, causes more inflation because banks are able to loan again and people are willing to take out loans on things that maybe they can't afford. And so you end up boosting the economy, and overall it looks like the gross domestic product is growing because there's more money in the economy. But remember, when you slice a pizza up into 8 slices, right? Just because you go and make the 8-slice pizza into a 16-slice pizza doesn't mean there's twice as much pizza, right? It's still the same amount of pizza. It's just smaller. It's just smaller units of measure. Okay, so they're shrinking the ruler. Okay, and as that ruler shrinks, if your value is stored in that dollar, as they shrink the ruler, so does the shrinkage of your purchasing power. Okay, it's a very crazy concept. It's hard to understand, but the pizza example is pretty good. Another example that I like to use is the wine example. Okay, if you take a bottle of wine and you split it into 2 and you add water, do you have more wine? Let me know in the chat. Do you have more wine? And this poll right here, it says, let's see. C Penny, pick it up. Heck yes. Okay. 83%. Okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. So anyway, that's an example with how all of this works. Just to wrap it all up into a nice little package for Friday, right? It's pretty good. So slow and steady. What we like to do here is educate people a little bit at a time in a way that is palatable, free of shenanigans, just straight up Bitcoin signal. Very minimal advertising, actually, and more geared towards beginners because it's a difficult concept to understand. And I think if I talk about it a little at a time, we start to understand some of the concepts, that gives you an idea to kind of like go research on your own. Like, yeah, go watch a video called The Retirement Gamble. Okay. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Actually, if you haven't seen this yet, it's an old video. It came out, 2 years ago. And for some reason, it got suggested to me because I was looking up, doing some research for the show. But The Retirement Gamble, I put it in the chat. Don't watch it right now. Just click it and put it on a different browser and wait for this show to be over. But go watch it. Okay, it's gonna lay it out in plain, simple terms. That your retirement planner, your retirement advisor, your financial advisor, they have they don't have a requirement to look out for your best interest unless they're a fiduciary, right? They're gonna explain what a fiduciary is. Watch that video, okay? And then the whole time you're watching that video, I want you to think about what would be the best answer for it, okay? And then come back. We'll talk about it next week. Come back and let me know what you think the best answer for that is going to be. Hint. It's gonna hint. SATS, self custody. But anyway, that's one of the things I would kind of like thinking about. It's been on my mind lately because it takes generations. It took generations to I don't know what you call it, to it took generations to basically convince people to invest in those assets, or to coerce people to invest in those asset classes. And then with I think it's part of a system where you're not educated enough on purpose, not because you don't, not because you're not educated enough on purpose, but because the system doesn't want you to be educated on the financial system, how it really works, right? Because they need you to believe in it and trust it with your money, right? With your retirement, right? So that they can go and take that money and gamble with it, right? And if they mess up, if they have losses, then they'll come crying to the government for assistance because they're too big to fail. And what you have there is socialized losses, right? Because when the government backstops these institutions, where do they get that money from? Does the government go out and pick up an extra 2 shifts to cover the cost? No, all they do is print more money, right? And when they print more money, they create more slices of that pizza, right? You still have 2 slices of pizza, but your slices of pizza went from like an eighth of a pizza each, right, to maybe 1/16 of a pizza each, right, or even less, right? And that's inflation. Okay, that's the root cause of inflation, right? So it's wild. It's wild to think about that stuff and to really be able to just comprehend it. There's so many things that are involved in so many processes. It takes a real long time to grasp a whole system. I don't even grasp the whole system myself, but I know enough to know that why should I have to work for money that somebody else can print, right? Right? Why do I have to pay taxes on top of why should I have to pay taxes, right? If the government can print money out of thin air, right? So that's a big kind of like that's like a big curtain reveal, right? Okay, so if you start thinking about it, yeah, why should I have to pay taxes if the government could just print money, right? And it's because the government doesn't want me to have too much money, because I don't have too much time to think about stuff and think about how the money's messed up and how the government's not working for me, right? The government should be working for us, not trying to control us, right? Which is a crazy concept, I know, right? Even at 2% inflation, which is what their goal is, right? What is inflation? Inflation is just basically the expansion of the money supply and the reduction of purchasing power of the dollar. Okay, so they're saying out loud and in your face, they're telling you their target goal is to make you less wealthy at a rate of 2%. That's our goal, is to make you less wealthy, is to make your money worth 2% less year to year, right? So that in the span of 30 years, whatever you have in savings, it's going to be worth about half if it's at 2%. Okay, but we all know that the real rate of inflation is more than 2%, right? It's more than maybe even 9 or 10% if you actually look at the prices of things that you actually use, like gas, food, shelter, right? Has all that. They're telling you the CPI is like 4 or 5%, right? That's like it's dropped, whatever, right? But did the price of gas go up by less than 4%? Probably more than that, right? Did the price of housing go up? Yes. The price of food go up? Yes. Okay. So they're gaslighting you when they tell you that the CPI is 3 or 4%, right? And the reason they have to do that is because if they were to really admit what the real inflation is, then they would have to adjust the payments that they make to people on Social Security, and that's another outgoing money flow that they can't handle, right? They could barely handle it as it is, right? So they got to keep that CPI artificially low by only counting things that don't really inflate that much year to year, so that they don't put themselves even more into debt, right? So it's like a downward spiral, right? And so the dollar is going to eventually fail. It might be in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 200 years, who knows? But it will eventually fail, right? Because the way that the math works, you see how much in debt we are, right? There's no way to pay that debt off without printing more money because there's not enough money in existence to even pay off the debt, right? So it's a downward spiral. They're gonna continue to devalue the dollar in order to pay back some of that debt with cheaper dollars in the future. And when they do that, they're stealing from you. Right? Simple as that. So the only way out is to continue. The only way out is to use their ideas and use that system against them by putting the money that you want to hold the value of into Bitcoin. Right? You put your value into Bitcoin, and now as they continue to pump the amount of money coming out, the amount of money coming into production, while they're doing that, they're actually making you richer. Now they're working for you. Now that whole system that was set up to keep you poor and keep you working your whole life so that you didn't have a chance to look up and see what's happening is now going to work for you, and you're going to have more time, right? Slow and steady. Just keep stacking. That's how it works. That's the plan, okay? That's my plan anyway. You guys are free to make your own decisions and do the research yourself, but after looking at all my options for investing and for saving, it's like this is kind of like the only way. It's like you're going to have to choose. You got to choose Bitcoin, or you choose to continue to be a slave to the system and continue to run on that hamster wheel forever until the day you die, and then die without owning anything and without having anything to pass on to your descendants. I know it's a little harsh for a Friday, guys. It's a little harsh for a Fridays, but I'm already on the soapbox, so let's just let's just wrap it up. Let's just wrap up the why we stack segment. So that's why we stack, boys. That's why we stack. Shout out and round of applause for CD in the house. What up, CD? Sailor says inflation is whatever the. Oops, I can't see that because the little heart gets in the way. Whatever the S&P 500 grows. Sailor says inflation is whatever the S&P 500. Oh, that's a great point, CD. Okay, that's a great point. Okay, so CD says that. Okay, remember, guys, let's go back to the idea of the pizza. Okay. You slice a pizza more slices, it doesn't make more pizza, okay? It just makes more units of pizza, but it's still the hunger satiation of that pizza slice also gets diminished, okay? So you're still going to be hungry, right? If I gave you 2 slices of pizza when the pizza was new and it was a total of 8 slices, and I gave you 2 slices, that's like a quarter of a pizza. Most people will be like, okay, that's good. I can maybe have a 3rd slice and I'll be full, right? But I can be satiated with maybe 2 slices, right? Just saying, average size person, maybe. Now I come along and I cut up that pizza a couple more times, right? And now 1 slice of pizza that used to be a 1/8 of a pizza, now it's a 32nd of a pizza, right? And I give you 2 slices, and I say, hey, why aren't you satisfied? Why are you still hungry if I just gave you 2 pizzas, right? When in reality, the new pizza slices I gave you are actually 1/4 of a pizza. No, sorry, 1/16 of a pizza, right? Because I gave you basically half of an 1/8 of a pizza, and I cut it in half again. So I give you 2 pizzas that are 1/32 of a pizza. I know fractions math. Sorry, guys. I know it's Friday, but. And then I'm going to make you feel bad. Then I'm going to make you feel bad and blame it on you for being a greedy bastard for wanting more than 2 slices, right? Hey, man, I already gave you 2 slices. Why are you being so greedy? Let other people have some slices, right? When in reality, I devalued I diminished the hunger satiating power of your 2 slices by cutting them up, right? But they're still called 2 slices, okay? So that's where we're at with the dollar, okay? It's going to keep doing that. Okay, and it's doing it by the minute. Okay, if you're into like cryptocurrencies and you understand the meaning of a rug pull, right? A rug pull is when you see a new coin come out and you invest in it and you think it's going to the moon, and you're really just like late to the game and you kind of started investing in it before, like right where it's near the top, and the people that started up the coin, they go in there, they're selling you the coin as it's going up, and then they kind of just leave. And they leave you holding the bag. They pull the rug on you, right? It's called a rug pull, like a scam. Okay, and so like all these coins that are not Bitcoin are basically in essence some form of a rug pull, whether it's doing it over the long term or the short term. Don't mess with any other coins because you're gonna get scammed. You're gonna get rug pulled. But the worst coin of them all, well, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst coins of them all, that's a constant rug pull, right? Because they're changing the supply amount for you daily by the minute is the US dollar along with any other government money. Those are constant rug pulls, okay? So you put your money in. Let's look at this chart. Okay, let's look at this chart. It's the same thing we looked at earlier, but let's look at this. I keep coming back to this, okay? All right. So if your money represents a percentage of the money supply, that's the value it represents, right? But if the money supply keeps going up, and your portion of the money supply does not go up unless you work extra hard and make more money to get your percentage of the overall money supply back up to where you want it to be, right? You're losing value. Okay? This here is a gigantic pizza that's being sliced up. Okay? So the money supply, the amount of dollars that are in existence, okay? As our debt goes up, we can't default on our debt, so we have to create more money to pay off that debt and keep up with the with the interest on it. Look at that. This is just this is a debt, including interest, right? So knowing that, you're watching as this number goes up, you're watching the numbers. Sorry, as this number goes up, you're watching the number of dollars in existence they'll have to come to be. And there's no way you can work fast enough. There's no way you could build a company and start a business that's making money fast enough to keep up with that rate of printing. Okay? Maybe if you come up with a company and you're profiting like over 10-12% in profit, then you might be able to, like, for a while keep up with it, maybe stay ahead a little bit, right? But you have to have a phenomenal business or a phenomenal career, right? And it would be just impossible, you know? You're doing all the right things. You worked hard. You went to school. You went to a good university. You got yourself a really great education. You never did anything wrong. You stayed healthy. You studied hard. You got into debt so you can pay your student loans. Maybe even got a scholarship because you're so good at whatever you were doing, right? And you become one of the best in your field, whatever field it happens to be, right? It won't matter in the long run because there's no way that you can work and just save and keep up with that rate of inflation, keep up with that rate at which the money is devaluing, right? So you look at other countries where, for example, that they have hyperinflation, right? And their inflation rate is higher than it is here in the US. And some might say, oh man, those people are not motivated to do something with their lives, right? Like they're lazy. They should get an education. They should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and work hard and blah blah blah, right? Yeah. But to a certain point, you're gonna get to a situation where the inflation is so high that it won't matter how hard you work and how much of an education you have. The money is stealing from you so fast that, like, it's not even worth to get an education, because if you did get an education and you did get a really nice job, in that next couple of years, you're making less than poverty because the money's just losing value so fast, right? Like even today in the U.S., it affects us the least because we're like the prime money that most of the people in the world use, right? So we're like the last domino to fall. That's how people say it, right? But even though we're the last domino to fall, we're starting to feel it more and more, right? We're starting to feel it, especially now that the interest rate is so high, because it's harder to get loans and people have to work so hard just to stay ahead, just not even stay ahead, just to stay afloat, right? There's no opportunities to save because whatever you're saving is devalued so fast that it doesn't make sense to even save, right? Unless enter Bitcoin, you have the ability to save now and save it outside the system that's devaluing it, right? That's basically the whole premise of the show, is to get you guys an idea of what you can do to get out of that system and start to work on something that can continue to grow for you in the future and for your descendants as you inherit the Bitcoin or the Satoshis you've accumulated when the time comes. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys as far as that goes. Let's get into the stack recap. Stack recap. Okay, so today Hold on, let me see what Captain Dan's up to. Present but late in Vegas. Let's go. Inflation's not so good. I'm telling you, Captain Dan. Remember when we used to have penny slots? Not anymore. Not anymore. All right. So today, look at that. We're actually gained a little bit since the price of Bitcoin has gone up. Here are the rules for the stacking of the SATS Stacks show. When the price of Bitcoin is above our average buy price, we'll buy $20 worth of Bitcoin. If it's below our average buy price, we'll buy $40 worth of Bitcoin. We call that a double stack. If the price of Bitcoin drops below our all-time lowest price in 2024, which in this case is 39,237, we do a quadruple stack, a 4x4 if you will. So today, based on the price of Bitcoin, we're doing a double stack. That's $20. And yep, just like that, our show stack in 2024, we've accumulated 2 million Satoshis. That's 0.02 Bitcoin. I know it seems like it's not a lot, but in the future, 2 million Satoshis might be a lot, because remember, in the year 2134, the Coinbase reward for mining the next block is going to be 1 Satoshi, right? The whole amount of Satoshis that will be released per day will be 1,404 Satoshis. And here we are with a bag full of 2 million Satoshis, okay? It's wild. It's wild. What up, McLovin? Round of applause from the live studio audience for Captain Dan and McLovin. All right, now that we know where we're at with the current show's holdings, and yeah, let's go over the whole lifespan of the show. Since the beginning of the show back in May 2023, we've accumulated 13 million sats. This number includes the sats for 2024, so don't be confused. But if you wanted to see all of our buys, all the entries we made, you can see this whole sheet and modify it to track your own purchases as a template by going to, let's see, SAT sheet. All right, SAT sheet. You'll get a link in the chat from the Nightbot for the template for the sheet if you want to use it to track your purchases. All right, so that said, we have our plan for today, which is to stack. Just stack some sats. And today we're gonna buy $40 worth, doing a double stack. There we go. As you guys know, I like to stack over at Swan. Where's my browser? There it is. As you guys know, I like to stack over at Swan. If you don't have a Swan trading account yet, sign up with our affiliate link and you'll get $10 worth of free Bitcoin. And once you make your first purchases and it goes through. BTC Moon Guy says 13% of Bitcoin stacked. Let's go. Oh, let's go, dude. Heck yeah. Yeah, this is crazy, right? It's crazy. Okay. We're doing $40 worth today. Let me get this preview going. Screenshot. Bam. All right, that's done. I got the screenshot, and now there's nothing else left to do but cut the music and go to the actual purchase. Here we go. Drum roll, please. We're buying $40 worth of Bitcoin. It's going to cost us 40 cents in fees. Here we go. And just like that, we've stacked yet again another stack on a Friday, chilling with the people in the chat. Do me a favor, guys, if you stack sats, hit that like button. Let's go, Mr. Android in the house. Round of applause from the live studio audience for Mr. Android. Choo. All right. Well, I should be on the browser. Here we go. Let's update the chat. Sorry, let's update the chart with today's purchase. McLevin says, I like to stack with Swan, only 99%. Sorry, only 0.99 fee, and it's totally free to transfer. Yeah, McLovin, the more consistent stacking you do, the more those fees add up, right? And yeah, that's one of the main things that I love about Swan is they don't charge you a fee to transfer your coins from the exchange to your cold storage. You're only paying that 0.99%, that 0.99% fee when you actually purchase, right? So I mean, they have a little bit on the spread too, but for the most part, it's very, very intuitive, and I really like the way that you could just set it up, fully automated DCA. You know. All right, so today's purchase price is $42,050. We bought $40 worth of Bitcoin, and the yield is 0.00094173. Yeah. It's crazy. I keep coming back to that thought about how much the Coinbase reward is going to be for mining the next block in 2134. 1 sat, guys. And here we are. Like we bought 94,173 sats. This is more sats than will be released in the year 2134 when the Coinbase reward is 1 sat. Okay? How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Okay? So if the daily sat release for Bitcoin in 2134 is going to be 14,004 satoshis, right? That times 365 times 4. Okay, the whole 4 years of that halving from 2134 till 2138, when there's no more Bitcoin rewards for mining the next block, will be 2,049,840 satoshis. So our show stack for 2024 in the first month of savings is already more than the whole 4 years of here it is. The whole 4 years of the 2134 halving, that whole cycle, only 2 million satoshis will be released in those 4 years, right? And we've accumulated that in a month. Okay, that's how powerful it is, guys. It's hard to illustrate. I always try to find different ways to illustrate the value that Bitcoin's going to give us, and that's kind of a good one. Raman, do you run your own node? Which one? I do. I run a what's it called? I run a device called a Apollo BTC. It's a full node, right? So I run it on that, and then I do run a couple of other miners on the side. I have some S19Js. And actually, S19Js are heating my house right now, guys. It's 75 in here, and it's 75 in here, whether it's 50 or 60 or 45 or 49 outside. It's 75 in my house. I'm telling you. And when it gets hot, I rotate my miners so that the outlet is going out instead of coming in. So today, when it's winter time, I face them so that the exhaust, air quotes, exhaust, is coming into my house. Okay? It's pretty funny. But yeah, amazing value. Mr. Android, it's worth it if you have a, let me lower the music a little bit so we can talk. It's worth it if you have cheap electricity. Okay? So for example, some areas will give you like a special rate if you have like an electric car, you charge it at night during certain hours, right? Cheap power is the way to go. We invested into like a solar panel system at our house a while back, and I get a better rate from like the electricity company will buy my power that I'm generating at a certain rate, right? And then at night, I can buy power cheaper than what I sell it for to them, and so I can run the miners on a schedule. Well, they're always on, but like they're not actually mining until I set them up to actually run in the hours that I know where I'm getting cheaper electricity, right? So that's a good way to start if you really want to be at like zero cost or close to zero cost. But right now, because of all of the volume that's about to come into to Bitcoin, and I anticipate the price going up so much, I'm just running them 24/7 because by the time it comes to it's just more sats, you know. And even though all sats are equal, the sats that you get from mining them directly are non KYC sats, right? So those for me are going to a separate wallet, right? And those sats don't get mixed with my regular sats that I buy on Swan or buy on Coinbase or wherever I can buy my Bitcoin from, right? So that way, yeah, it's pretty cool. Would I recommend buying equipment? It's a hard one, okay? Because I don't know, it's difficult. It's a really difficult decision to make, and it all should really come down to whether you have cheap power or not, okay? It's going to get to a point where, for example, an S19J during the height of the last bull run cost about, I don't know, $10,000 to $15,000 for one S19J miner, ASIC, okay? I'm like, dang, that's a lot of money, right? Because they're basically pricing in how much potential income you can make off that machine, right? So it's kind of priced in. But when the economy was, when the Bitcoin was down to like the 20s and the 15.5 and down there, the cost of those same miners was down to like $1,500 to $1,800, right? For the same miner that used to cost $15,000, right? Because if you run it, you're kind of mining at a loss, right? You're not getting as much back than if you were to just take that same money and buy straight up Bitcoin, right? That's where the balance is. The trick is getting a miner, getting an ASIC cheap enough, being able to have electricity that's cheap so you can run your miner at a profit, right? But then once the profit starts to go up, if you go try to buy a miner once it's profitable, then they're gonna want now $5,000 for that same miner or $10,000 as the price goes up. So if you start mining, think of it as a long-term thing. It's like a long game with mining, I think. You buy the equipment when it's cheap, like now, or maybe like a couple years ago or like a year ago when it was like the lowest, and you get good hardware. Most of the time, a lot of these miners could be brand new, right? The ones I got were brand new. So now I just kind of have them, right? And as the price of Bitcoin goes up, I can run them longer, right? And it's at that point you get more profits out of it, right? You still get, anyway. It's not really a gamble, but it's a good strategy, I think, right? Like what, for example, let's say right now I've been mining with my miners the whole time, and I'm making sats every day, right? And the price goes up all-time high, right? And beyond all-time high. And now these miners, even though they're used, people are trying to gobble them up. They want them, right? So I have the option then to continue to mine on them or sell them at a profit, right? Because I bought them at such a cheap price, I could sell it for whatever the market's asking for, and you actually make a gain on selling the hardware. If you'd rather take the cash and then buy Bitcoin with it, right? So it's like somebody else now will take the risk of mining with it and pay you the difference between when you bought it and what they want to buy it for, and you can take that difference and just buy Bitcoin with it, right? And your stack is now bigger, but you don't have to actually run the miner, right? So it's a give and take, right? But what if the price keeps going up forever, which it will, and you have equipment that's going to continue to make when it used to make for you maybe $10 a day, now all of a sudden it's making $60 or $100 a day for you out of just exchanging electricity for sats, right? So it's really cool. And then you think about it in terms of like, okay, energy, right? There's stranded energy everywhere. There's like solar. There's unusable gas where they have to flare it, right? That whole concept really appeals to me. I love that whole idea. I wish I could get into more of that stuff, but I can't. But you're taking energy that's not going to get used anyway, and you're converting it to currency, which is super cool. Like you're basically creating money. You're creating money out of sunlight, which is a really cool concept, right? And I'm not talking about taking sunlight, growing something and selling it. Right? No, you're directly taking sunlight So energy from the sun, and you're converting it into digital energy, and that digital energy is Bitcoin. It's freaking amazing. It's freaking amazing, right? Like, that's kind of what a farmer does, right? They take a seed and they grow it, and it turns sunlight into, what is it called? What's that process? Forget what it's called. I'm spacing on it. Through photosynthesis, they take light and convert it to energy for plants, and the plant creates the plant itself could be like lettuce or something, or like spinach, and you sell it and you make money, right? You're in essence kind of converting solar energy into food, and then that food is going to make you're going to sell that food, and you'll have money from that, right? Because from your work. Well, you could do a similar thing, but you just create straight up from sunlight. You create value, and you can use that value. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. That's a whole nother topic, a whole nother tangent. That's a great question, dude. If you receive non-KYC SATS, but you transferred it into the same wallet as KYC SATS, is there a way to undo them, or are they now mixed and have also been KYC'd? I don't think there's a way to identify which ones are KYC and which ones are not, right? Just know that you can track whatever wallet those SATs have been in, right? So if, for example, you took a wallet that you have linked to your Coinbase account, and you transfer it from your Coinbase out to your wallet, and now the government audits Coinbase and says, hey, we need to know Mr. Android's wallet address that he withdrew to, right? And they go on the blockchain, they look at your wallet address, and they say, hey, look, this other wallet also sent Bitcoin to this address. These might be his addresses as well. These aren't KYC. So it's not for certain, but there's ways to basically track SATs, right? But there's not for sure, except for the one wallet that you registered with Coinbase, for example, because that's KYC'd, right? Is this Apollo package? Is this the Apollo package you have? Full node Apollo package, desktop plus controller. Yes, that is, Garrett. But how much is it right now, if you don't mind me asking? 1 terabyte. Yep, that's it. Phil in the house. What up? Round of applause from the live studio audience for Phil. What up, Phil? Welcome. We're all over the place, Phil. We're talking about mining. We're talking about the banking system. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. Okay, so here's the dilemma, Garrett. The hash rate of this Apollo BTC miner is going to get you about, I don't know, let me see. It's hard to say. It's going to get you not that many sats per day, right? But again, it doesn't use that much power. You just plug it into the wall. It's 200 watts, no big deal. But you'll be earning sats, and as the way mining works, since we're not, you can set it up as a lottery miner, or you can set it up to mine in a pool. Okay, and let me go over that real quick. I mean, there's no real quick about it. When you mine by yourself, if you happen to solve the next block before anybody else does with a bunch of processing power with your little Apollo BTC miner, you in essence get to write the next block, and you'll get the whole 6.25 Bitcoin that's associated with the Coinbase reward for that block, right? But it's very, very unlikely. Okay, people call it lottery mining. Okay, I have a lottery miner here on my desk. It's called the nerd miner, right? It's hashing at 77 kilohash, 77 kilohash, right? The likelihood of me finding a block with this is like unimaginably high. I mean low, right? I'll probably never hit a block with this thing, right? But it's running off a USB 5 volts, and it just needs internet access. And it's mining, right? It's trying to guess the next block. If it does guess the next block, this little thing will get me 6 Bitcoin, right? 6.25 Bitcoin. Okay. But if it never finds a block, then I never get paid, and I'm just wasting electricity for nothing. Okay. But if you have a device like the Apollo, or like an S19J, or like some other kind of miner, and you mine with a mining pool, then you have a better chance of hitting a block. And depending how much work you put into finding the next block, you'll get a percentage of shares from that block if the mining pool you're on wins. Okay, and that's what I do with my other miners. I'm on a pool, and I mine to that pool, and when that pool hits a block, we all split the rewards based on how much work you put into that block. Okay, it's a difficult concept. I wouldn't worry about running a node yet, Garrett, or spending that money on that miner right now. You're probably better off stacking sats with that money, because with like, for example, $700, right? With $700, let me see this preview real quick. Go here, boom, buy. We'll say $700 preview. Okay, so with $700 right now, you'd get about 0.0165 Bitcoin, right? And you'll never mine that much Bitcoin with that device, because you're getting about, I can't even remember how much you would get for that device. It's more like of a hobby thing, right? So it's difficult. For that amount of money, you're probably better off buying straight up Bitcoin, right? If you want to start mining and legit start mining, and you have cheap power, I would go for like something like an S19J Pro, or the latest version of the SJ19 Pro, which is like the top of the line ASIC. If you're gonna go ASIC, might as well go all in, or just go with the big device, right? Because otherwise you're gonna be mining for a really long time and not get paid for like every 30 days, every 2 months, right? But when you're able to mine with a bigger device, then you can probably get paid like every 3 or 4 days, maybe every 10 days, depending on how many devices you commit to it and how much power you have available, right? But that's a whole different topic. It's a crazy, it's a good thing to get into. But again, if you're gonna get into it, the Apollo BTC seems expensive right now for the lifetime potential stat generation that it'll give you, right? So I would go with a bigger, like, so for example, that Apollo BTC is going to give you like maybe 3 terahash of hash power for $700, right? Or you can get a S19J Pro for like maybe $1,800, and you have 100 terahash, right? So like a ton more terahash than the 3 terahash that the Apollo BTC miner will do, and you'll mine more Bitcoin that way anyway. So it's like it's probably a better deal, right? Which desktop mobile wallet do you use? Let's see, which desktop mobile do you use? I've used a bunch of them. Let's see, which ones do I use? I don't know if I want to say. I don't know if I want to say, but as far as mobile wallets, I try not to use any. The only mobile wallets I use are just for fun SATS, which we do for, like, for example, the ZBD thing up here, right? I use the ZBD wallet for Lightning Satoshis. I use Wallet of Satoshi. If you could download that still, most people can't download that anymore. I use Blockstream Jade wallet, no, Blockstream Green wallet as like my demo wallet, like an example on my phone. So people just, if I need to teach somebody how to use it. I've even used the Coinbase. Wallet, which is kind of lame. But yeah, but my on my phone, I don't keep anything of real value. That way, if I ever lose my phone, I have to worry about it. Yeah. Phil says, I use Strike for my Lightning wallet. Yep. I buried my Bitcoin under my dog's house. Don't tell people. Don't tell people, McLovin. and he's a big mean dog. You guys better look out. That's so good. That's so good. But yeah, guys, it's crazy. So I've been watching a lot of course, I'm always watching all the YouTube videos about like Bitcoin and trying to keep up. And there's always such amazing content out there. And I'm looking at looking at all of the different ideas between why Bitcoin didn't go crazy after the ETF got approved, right? And like, because I was frankly a little bit disappointed, right? Because I assumed like everybody else that Bitcoin was going to go crazy, and didn't realize the different things that were happening, right? So let's just talk about that for a little bit, just so we're all like on the same page. And if you guys know more about this than I do, please do type something in the chat. We'll kind of discuss it. So we anticipated that the volume of demand coming into the Bitcoin world was going to be just a tidal wave of purchasing that would drive the price up, and we would get the God candle slash what do you call it, Omega candle, right? But that didn't end up happening, and behind the scenes, unaware, there was other things happening as well. For example, if you guys know about this company FTX, which was an exchange, right? They took a bunch of user deposits and they sold them paper Bitcoin, which is not actual Bitcoin, and they took their money and invested it in different things, right? Anyway, that's the Sam Bankman-Fried guy, and the whole place went under. And when it did go under, all their assets got like possessed by the government, right? And so the government is trying to liquidate some of their assets, and the assets they're trying to liquidate include GBTC. GBTC, basically, as you invest in GBTC, they have to go out and buy actual Bitcoin, so that they can have a certain amount of Bitcoin that correlates with the amount of shares of GBTC they have, right? So what's been happening is the people that are the custodians of the FTX assets, the lawyers, have started to sell off the sell off the GBTC shares in order to start getting customer money back. Even though most of the customers would rather have the Bitcoin, they're doing a crazy sell-off, right? And as that sell-off is coming, what's happening is that's where you start to see the price of Bitcoin start to go down, because there's a lot of sales happening, right? And so at the same time, people that were already invested in GBTC before the ETFs got approved, that are having to go that were paying 2% management fees, are now paying 1.5 management fees. But it's still more attractive to invest in an ETF that's going to give them 0.25 fees, 0.25% fees, like BlackRock's ETF, right? It's more advantageous to invest there because they have less fees, of course. And so you can't just transfer that GBTC over to BlackRock. You have to sell it into the regular market. And then what's it called? So GBTC's got to sell that. And as they're selling it, they're also still bringing the market down, because there's a lot more sells happening than buys, right? So even though all this selling is happening, Bitcoin is still kind of holding its ground. It's not totally crashing, right? Which is a really good sign, right? There's people that specialize in tracking these ETFs, and they're showing like, hey, like the GBTC sales have started to taper off since the beginning of the ETFs. So that means that I think maybe in a couple of weeks, soon, we'll start to see that real demand on the supply hit, and the price of Bitcoin should start to go up. That's what I imagine, right? Because the rate at which GBTC is being sold is actually slowing down now. It's tapering off compared to at the beginning of when the ETFs got approved. Okay. So barring anything else, maybe also the U.S. has a bunch of Bitcoin that it confiscated from back in the day. And if they start to sell that might also make the price of Bitcoin go down a little bit. But just remember, these institutions are coming in with so much money that they manage so much money. Actually, I have a sheet that I set up that I wasn't going to show, but let's just show it. So before the ETS got approved, I wanted to have an idea of how much AUM these companies had, how many assets under management. Okay, so BlackRock's got whatever 8.5 trillion, thousand million, billion, trillion, 8.5 trillion bucks. Fidelity 4.5 trillion. Okay, these companies, once the word comes down and say, okay, we need to invest, we need to get 1% of our earnings into Bitcoin, right? That's that much investment. Okay, that's that much new money that hasn't been in Bitcoin before that's going to go into Bitcoin. So it's a crazy idea. Okay, right now we're not seeing it hit the market because they're buying all these Bitcoin off of exchanges. I'm sorry, they're buying all these Bitcoin over the counter, so not on exchanges. So we don't get to see the real pump of the price yet because they're still buying it privately, basically, right? Probably even buying it directly from the GBTC people. Yeah, there's exactly. Mr. Android is correct. They're selling and we're stacking. Okay, because even though the thesis was that once the ETS got approved, the price is going to pump. Oh, it's going to pump. Okay, it's just maybe not going to pump as soon as we thought it was going to pump. So anyway, that said, you can look at this on the bright side. Okay, and the way to look at it is like this. When the price, we're lucky that the price isn't pumping yet because it gives us opportunity to stack a little harder, stack a little more, and get our friends and family involved before the real action happens. Okay, so I'll leave you guys with that thought, that even though I would love to see a God candle and Omega candle, it's going to make me sick to my stomach when I see it because I'll know that at that point it's too late for everybody to get 2,400 Satoshis for $1. Jeez. I've been panic buying over and over again. Exactly. Me too, McLovin. Panic buying like crazy. Selling everything. You guys know how I do it. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the SATS Show. I'll see you guys next week for another episode. But until then, remember, if you ain't stacking, you're slacking. Later, guys. What up, J-Dub? Andrew, sorry I didn't see you in here. What up, guys? Have a great weekend, boys.